Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank everybody who came out to our Profit in Plain Sight fix and flip event that we held at our two-family that we recently completed at 238 Essex Street in Lynn. It's a really good turnout. For those of you who follow me or on my email list or follow me on Facebook, you know that we do commonly host an agent investor event, typically once every 4, 5, 6 weeks. If you missed that event and you're interested in learning about future events, or if you went to that event and you're interested in going to another event, make sure that you check out when our next event is at www.agentinvestorevent.com. At that URL, I will always update the most recent event, location, discussion, whatever. Now, at the event and after the event, I got asked a couple of times the same question, which is essentially, Tom, I want to find fix and flip deals to partner with you on, or I want to do fix and flip deals on my own. I want to generate seller appointments. What is the best list to call? And this is going to take a little bit longer to explain than I'd like, but I want to give you guys really the true, honest answer here, because there is definitely a thought out there that there is some list that you can buy, whether it's the common ones that get brought up are pre-foreclosure or foreclosure or probate or divorce or inheritance lists or whatever, you name a list. There is a common thought out there that there is some list that you are then going to purchase, and that is going to turn into deals. And I want to give you kind of the reality of it. First thing I want you to think about, and this is a little bit of a mindset shift here, is that I want you to think more about how you're going to communicate with that list and how are you going to get in front of them, the marketing and sales piece, than about buying a particular list. Because there are so many companies out there, and I don't want to name them, but I could, but I don't want to name them, that preach buying their lists or buying their software. And they're not bad companies. They're not doing a bad thing. But a lot of times the next step is not coached or trained or mentored on or talked about. It is kind of like, buy my list, sign up for my program that's $99 a month, and therefore you will start to get deals. When that is not how it works at all. In fact, having a really nice shiny list, the only thing having that list is going to do in and of itself is to get you to pay a monthly subscription fee that you might lose $50, $100, $200 on per month. And I know if you're an agent investor, your goal is to make money, right? It's not just to have a bunch of expenses that are going to cost you money. So I know that there are a lot of companies out there that preach this. I used to get this one all the time. Buy my fire damage list. Buy a list of all the properties that have fire damage. And it's really, really common for people to think, I buy the list, therefore I get a deal. And my mindset shift that I want you to have is stop thinking about the list first. Start thinking about, how am I going to communicate with these people? Because at the end of the day, no matter what list you buy, you are going to have to get into the living room of that person. There are so many ways to get into the living room of that person. I'm not going to go into it here because it would take way too long. But you've got to think about, how do you communicate with that list? No matter what list you buy. All right. So now to answer the question, a little bit more directly, a list that you buy or that you make, there's all sorts of ways to make lists on your own. You don't need to just buy them, from a company like a fire damage, company or a probate list company or whatever. You can actually go on certain websites and buy certain programs where you can make your own list. You can say, I want this particular town, this amount of equity, this age of the homeowner. Like, you can do all of that stuff. Okay. So you don't necessarily need to buy a list. You can make a list. But what list do you choose, to me, is going to be a little bit more dependent on your overall investing goals. So I'll give you an example. Somebody that works in my office, his goal is to accumulate small multifamily rentals in the seacoast area of New Hampshire. Well, that's great. So if I know that, then I need to target specifically those type of sellers, right? So if I look in the seacoast section of New Hampshire and I'm looking for, say, 3 to 4 unit properties, and I make a list, you'll find there are far less people on that list than you might imagine. So his goal is to target those sellers. For every 2 deals, 3 deals he gets, say 3 deals he gets, he's going to buy 2. He's going to flip 2, and then he's going to hold 1. Flip 2, hold 1. Right? So for him, what list should he target? Well, he needs to find the cities that he wants to hold in. He needs to find the properties, the 3 to 4 unit properties. They've all got to have enough equity, so we need to build an equity list. Ideally, we want to make sure that there's a little bit of deferred maintenance, so we're probably going to make sure that those properties have been owned for at least 5 years, and a couple other little pieces of criteria. I'm giving you this more as kind of an example. So his goal, again, is to flip 2, hold 1. So that's how he comes up with his list. But again, mindset shift that I want you to have here is, how are you going to communicate with those people? Because again, if he builds the list, then he needs to start talking to the people or getting their attention or making sure that they're calling him, etc. Right? So to go talk directly about specific lists, there are pros and cons of all of these lists. And generally speaking, if you buy a pre-foreclosure list, to me, that means that you've got to specialize and you've got to learn everything you can about the pre-foreclosure process. And you've got to have a hook in that example of why somebody who's late on their mortgage wants to talk to you. And there's all sorts of kind of theories, and I'm not theories, there's all sorts of strategies on how to do that, but you've got to become an expert in that list. But getting back to the point where the person in my office, he wants to hold multifamilies in the seacoast area, you've got to first start with the strategy. You don't start with the list, right? You start with 2 things, right? I want to know, what is your long-term 5 to 10 year goal? What do you want to own or flip, or where do you want to be in your business? What areas do you want to target? And then we have to work backwards to say, okay, what type of list do you either need to buy or build in order to hit that goal, right? So more goes into it than just saying, hey, I'm going to buy this divorce list and just start targeting them at random. And I know this because I'll give you another example from my life. So early on, I bought a probate list. Okay, probates, are fine. So I would get the list, and then I would target them, and I would try to set up meetings with people. And then, what I realized is that half of the appointments I'd go on for these probate houses, they either weren't flippable, or they weren't in towns that I wanted to be in. And so you go, oh, wait, I didn't think about that part. I didn't think about the fact that if I bought a random list, that there might be a bunch of properties on that list that I don't want for whatever reason. So it all starts with, where do you want to be kind of 5 to 10 years into the future? And then saying, well, what properties do I need to target in order to get there? But again, the mindset shift of, on top of that, you need to think about this out of the gate. How am I going to communicate with these people? How am I going to get in the door? And again, there's so many different ways that you could do it. You could door knock, you could leave door hangers, you could mail, you could call, you could text, you could use social media. There's a million and one different ways that you could target people. You could use Facebook, you could use Google, whatever. But it all starts with figuring out what your 5 to 10 year plan is, working backwards. And with all that being said, this is the exact type of stuff that we help people with on a day-to-day basis. And something that I'm doing after the event that I posted about online, that you guys can reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to do it. I'm going to be doing some strategy sessions with people to go into more detail on who you should be targeting, why you should be targeting them, and how to come up with realistic goals so that you can get off the real estate roller coaster, build wealth, and ultimately, be free to work with whatever clients you want. Be willing to turn down buyers if you want, or not work weekends if you want, because that's the whole, premise of being an agent investor. And more so, even important than that, is diversifying your income away from just commission income, right? I mean, it is, scary times right now. Mortgage rates just jumped a half a point out of nowhere with what's going on in the Iran war. That might slow sales. That might kill the spring market right now. If you are an agent investor that has passive income, that has flip income, yeah, are you happy about that? Like, no, you're not. You're not happy that the spring market might be negatively impacted, but you're controlling your controllables and making sure that you're diversifying your income so that you're not solely reliant on whether or not somebody buys a house. There's somebody out there right now. There is some agent right now that's working with a buyer that was pre-approved at like 5.75. Now the mortgage rates went up, and now they're no longer approved for a property that they want to buy, and that buyer will put off buying. Somebody out there has that happening to them right now. Bulletproof yourself by blending being an agent and an agent investor. If you're interested in jumping on a call with me for a strategy session, send me a DM and we can set up a time to talk. No obligation, no cost, and we'll help you become an agent investor. So thank you guys for tuning in. Not just a list to buy. You can't just buy a list. You got to do more than that. We'll talk about that on the call. Thanks.